Last time on Dragon Ball Z. Everything was looking rosy at the start of the season for our intrepid heroes, having finished second in the league the year prior and having the transfer window of dreams by bringing in Jadon Sancho, Rafael Varane, and of course, the prodigal son, Cristiano Ronaldo. Expectations were the highest since Fergie left, and it looked good with Man United top of the league in September. The Ronaldo reunion was looking like the stuff of dreams, with him scoring last-minute savior goals pretty much every other week. And with Ollie at the wheel, all was going to plan. Until it didn't, because in October, the check engine light came on, and that spelled disaster for good old Ollie. Because after a run of 1 win in 5 league matches, Man United dropped from first in the league to 7th, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was finally given the sack. With the team spiraling, Man United leadership was left yet again with the difficult task to find someone mid-season to right the ship. And the man who they would ultimately settle on was the polarizing figure, Ralf Rangnick. Now, who is Ralf Rangnick? Well, he is considered the godfather of German football. Top modern managers like Thomas Tuchel and Jurgen Klopp have cited him as the progenitor of the Gegenpress, the high-pressing style that dominates their tactics. Ralf Rangnick's managerial claim to fame was taking Hoffenheim from the 3rd division of German football to becoming a staple in the Bundesliga. And then he went on to coach Schalke to a Champions League semi-final, as well as winning the German Super Cup. And at face value, he just looked like a no-nonsense, a blunt figure who at minimum would bring order and structure to a side who, under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, looked like a group of 11 talented individuals running around with their heads cut off. But probably the most intriguing aspect of his appointment was his track record as the director of football for RB Leipzig and RB Salzburg. Now you gotta remember that when he took that appointment, RB Leipzig was in the 4th division of German football, and Rangnick was given near full control from top to bottom of this incredibly young club. Now, I get it, alright? Not a lot of people are a fan of Red Bull and what they've done to football, and think of them what you will, because yes, money certainly helped in this equation. But if I can counterpoint, there are plenty of billionaire-backed clubs that never did what Rangnick did with RB Leipzig. He was the architect of the rapid rise to the top flight, and now they're one of the teams that occasionally challenge Bayern Munich in the Bundesliga. And when I mean full control, I mean full control. He was implementing coaches, the playstyle, the philosophy, recruitment, sports psychologists were brought in. His hand was on everything from the first team to the academy, and he had an eye for talent. He oversaw the signings of future stars like Sadio Mane, Joshua Kimmich, and Timo Werner. He also occasionally coached RB Leipzig during his tenure, filling in the gaps until suitable managers were found, then handing off the reins and moving back to a more of a technical director position. So the hope was that he, at minimum, could kind of steady the ship at United for the rest of the season and then smoothly transition into a consultant role once a long-term solution at manager was found. But there were also some pretty big questions around the appointment of Rangnick. For one, the man wasn't managing at the time. Not really a good sign, nor was he really in that high demand. When United hired him, he was currently overseeing another rehaul job at Lokomotiv Moscow. And on top of that, we're going to be honest, his tactical breakthroughs he brought to the game were almost 2 decades old. And while he did have a knack for taking lower tier clubs to the top flight, he only had 1 major trophy to his name, and he had never taken a big club to the promised land. So obviously, there were going to be some pretty big questions on how he would do at a club like Manchester United. And given the personnel in the dressing room at Manchester United, how would he deal with big personalities like, I don't know, Cristiano fucking Ronaldo? And since he was only given the title of interim manager, there was no guarantees beyond the end of the season, so he had little teeth to impose himself on said players. But all that said, when he took over for the first matchup against Crystal Palace, things looked pretty good. In fact, in the first 30 minutes, the team looked reborn in the image of Rangnick. Energy, shape, and best of all, not getting a new asshole torn open in the back. Now, while the first 30 minutes were tremendous, the last 60 minutes, okay, wasn't the prettiest football ever, but a 77th minute goal from Fred saw all 3 points to Manchester United, and more importantly, it was the first clean sheet in 16 games. I love you, Ollie, but yeah, he wasn't great defensively. And after one match, you had to say they kept their shape, and they nullified one of the best counterattacking teams in the Prem. A very promising start, and something that they could build off of in the coming weeks. And you gotta remember, when Rangnick took over at the start of December, Manchester United were 7th in the league. And by the end of January, a 93rd minute winner from Rashford had them back up to 4th. 2 months into his managerial appointment at Manchester United, he had only 1 loss in 8 league matches. United finished top of the group in the Champions League, although, we're gonna be honest here, that was mostly done under Ollie's tenure. But not a bad start for good old Ralphie. But then, at the very end of January, the Mason Greenwood shit happened. On January 30th of 2022, Mason Greenwood was arrested on suspicion of rape and assault of a woman. The images, video, and audio released on social media were incredibly disturbing. There's no way around it. It was fucked up, man. So much so that I cannot show it here without getting demonetized. So I'm not gonna do it. He was, at the time, one of the most promising young players in the world. His ability to shoot with either foot from almost any angle had Manchester United fans, hell, England fans, salivating at what he could become. And then for this to happen was just shitty. Just shitty all around. Just a shit show on everyone's face. Now, I don't know what happened. At this point, only Mason Greenwood and this young lady know truly what happened. And I know they say everyone deserves their day in court. But it's tough, man. It's tough listening and looking at this evidence and thinking that this young man wasn't a monster to this girl. But as I said before, I don't know what truly happened between these two. Only they know. And I've lived long enough to know that a lot of things can change. We don't know the full story yet. So what I'm going to do here is just leave this part incomplete. But if he did these things, yeah, this dude deserves to go to jail. Fucking 100%, duh. I think that's the best nuanced analysis that I can give on this one. And with that, Mason Greenwood was suspended as a Manchester United player until further notice. And that's the way it's been for him up until the point of filming this video. And sadly, this would be the turning point of the season. Reeling off this major controversy, Manchester United would suffer a shocking exit to Middlesbrough in the FA Cup. This would be the earliest exit in the FA Cup since 2013, and to a team that would go on to finish 7th in the championship. Yeah, fucking pathetic. In the league, though, they steadied the ship and maintained 4th in the table into March, where they faced Manchester City for the second time. And if you thought the first derby was bad under Ollie, you ain't seen nothing yet, because just 5 minutes in, Kevin De Bruyne found the back of the net like it was a training exercise. Now, Jadon Sancho would equalize with a nifty finish in the 22nd minute. It was a nice goal, one of the few highlights on the year for the ex-Man City man, but it was all consolation, because just 5 minutes later, a cheap giveaway at the back led Phil Foden almost immortalizing Lindelof with a cheeky dink over the top of him, and then fired a shot that David De Gea valiantly deflected. Only for Harry Maguire to lose his fucking mind and let the ball run between his legs instead of clearing the damn thing, and a few deflected shots later, Kevin De Bruyne had made it 2-1. And from that point on, it was just a bludgeoning. Riyad Mahrez added another beautiful volley off of a corner, and then, to add insult to injury, he was slipped in the 90th minute to make it 4-1. The shape and solidity shown in the early games under Rangnick had all but evaporated. And from this point on, Man United would keep just one clean sheet in the final 10 games of the season. And that one clean sheet they had was against newly promoted Brentford. Good job, guys. Good work. I guess their wages must have been adjusted for inflation, because you just don't get what you used to for tens of millions of pounds anymore. Now, there was a quick respite from the depression, as the following week saw Ronaldo score only his second hat-trick ever for the club. And it was pretty nice, not gonna lie. But even that happiness was short-lived, as 3 days later, Man United's storybook time in the Champions League would abruptly come to an end in the round of 16. After scoring last-second winner after last-second winner in the group stages, when the world needed him most, not even Cristiano Ronaldo could save Manchester United, as a header from Lodi would be enough to push Atletico Madrid through to the next round. It really was our final hope on the season, the only thing that really was keeping Manchester United fans hopeful, that maybe we could make some type of Chelsea-esque run and salvage the season, but no. No, just fucking depression. That's how the season was. With the occasional Ronaldo highlight. That's really what it was. And with that, by March 15th, Manchester United were pretty much eliminated from winning any silverware with 2 months left in the season. And without much to fight for, the team pretty much gave up. Ralf Rangnick lost the dressing room, and with team morale at an all-time low, the final stretch of the season was a total fucking joke. 5 losses in the final 8 games, including another humiliating drubbing by Liverpool, where they basically took us out back and shot us. That would have been more merciful than the 4-0 drilling they gave us. And then there was the complete embarrassment of losing 4-0 to Brighton, which was excruciating not just because it was Brighton, but because that was a must-win game for us. Because with that loss, it ensured that Manchester United wouldn't even qualify for Champions League the next season. These gutless, feckless, entitled pricks. They couldn't even muster up a fight up against Brighton. 4-0 against Brighton. Are you fucking kidding me? The only solace during this final stretch was a fantastic Ronaldo hat-trick up against Norwich. And yes, once again, it was fun. It was fun to see him just pound Norwich into the ground. But beyond that, there is not enough drugs in New York that can help make me forget this last part of the season fast enough. And I'm sure many Man United fans will love to quickly forget this season as a whole. I honestly don't think I've been more depressed writing a video. And I've wrote a video about the subjugation of Hong Kong. And this honestly might be worse. And with the finish to the season like that, Ralf Rangnick would go down to claim the dubious honor of having the lowest win percentage of any Manchester United manager in Premier League history. Now, a lot has already been said about his tenure. He certainly shoulders a fair amount of blame for what went down. He admittedly was out of his depth, and him and his coaches expressed how tough and fast the game was, even against the weakest teams in the Premier League. His candor at press conferences, while appreciated by the fans and the press, certainly did him no favors with the upper management. But to his credit, it didn't seem for lack of trying. From multiple accounts, he was no tyrant. In fact, he sought the input of major players and expensive signings, but often the input that he got from one player would be at odds directly from the opinion of another player. This led him to trying to fix a team and tactics game from game, switching players, formations, and sometimes settling on tactics minutes before matches. By the end of it, he was a man lost without a compass, and a crew calling for mutiny. But it certainly was not all on him. His style, in which he had seen success before, was predicated on a cohesive team press, and he typically had younger players who were willing to buy into his system. But at Man United, he had Ronaldo. And when the biggest player on the team is in the 1st percentile in pressing, literally one of the worst pressing players in history, even if he is scoring the goals, the system wasn't going to work. And when that's your top player, and you can't tell him what to do, what do you think all the other players are going to do? He's the lead dog. He's the GOAT. He's Ronaldo. And with no real backing from upper management, he was pretty much doomed from the start. I honestly believe him that he tried. He told players what to do, and they just weren't doing it. It just seemed like it was rotten from top to bottom with this club. And that has led us to this moment. The culture that Ollie had somewhat resurrected, all but gone. And worse yet, Ralf Rangnick declined to even stay on in a consulting capacity. A season that started so bright and hopeful has gone down as the worst ever for Manchester United in Premier League history. So even before the season ended, Manchester United went hunting for their next manager. And by all accounts, they got their top choice. And with that, Erik Ten Hag was announced as the new manager of Manchester United by mid-April. You know it's not a good season when you got a new manager announced by mid-fucking-April, bro. And as depressing as the season was, there was general optimism with his appointment. I mean, goddamn, it can't get much worse, right? I don't want to jinx it, but, you know. So who is the new boss at United? Well, the dude has pretty much been earmarked as the next big thing for the past couple seasons. In fact, Man City were sniffing around him as a possible replacement for Pep Guardiola, and Barcelona were in contention for him before giving Xavi the job. During his time at Ajax, he had them winning the Eredivisie on the reg, and he also had them punching way above their weight in the Champions League, soundly beating teams like Real Madrid and Juventus in the knockout stages with a fraction of their budgets. Being at Ajax, he employed a total football mentality, a Cruyffian football that requires players to interchange and take up different responsibilities according to the position of the ball. Tactics that are not too dissimilar from the style that Pep Guardiola employs over at Manchester City. In fact, he credits his 2 years under Pep Guardiola at Bayern for a lot of the ideas he would go on to implement at Ajax, and why many considered him a natural successor for Pep if he ever were to leave City. But as fate would have it, he's now on the other side of Manchester, and he inherits a squad that is more disjointed than a Picasso painting. A horrible mess of players that are basically stitched together from 5 different managers. And while I like the appointment, I do not envy this man. He's got a Herculean task in front of him, with many of the starting 11 more specialists in 1 or 2 traits and far from the well-rounded footballers he had at Ajax. But at the very least, he'll have the teeth and backing of the board to make tough decisions that Ralphie never could. And behind the scenes, the much maligned Ed Woodward is gone. Thank you, Jesus. The accountant is succeeded by Richard Arnold, who is also an accountant. In fact, he was good university buds with Ed Woodward, so honestly not the best first impression. A lot of fans are asking, are we just trading one Glazer lackey for another Glazer lackey? But, in a bizarre act, he actually met with some disgruntled fans at a pub, which was secretly filmed. And on that film, he admitted that last season was a fucking nightmare, and that United had burned through over $1 billion in recent years. But he also assured them that they still had money to recruit players and build a bright future under Erik Ten Hag. Dude has balls. I'll at least give him that. I kind of like that he actually would meet with some disgruntled fans. And he's given us more transparency already than the entirety of the Ed Woodward era. Will this result in anything? I don't know. We have to see. But the early results aren't great, because after making Paul Pogba the most expensive midfielder signing in history, he's gone on a free, along with Jesse Lingard, Juan Mata, and Nemanja Matic. All of them gone on a free. Not exactly tidy business. Now I know, cynicism is at an all-time high. For good reason. And there are some major questions about Erik Ten Hag. First, he's coming from the Eredivisie, which is a respectable league, but not somewhere where you have to fight week in and week out. And there are still factors that are out of his control. The Glazers are still the owners, the new CEO is yet another accountant, but personally, I like that they actually went with a forward-thinking manager instead of trying to retread the past. And with the clearing of a number of players, coaches, and thankfully Ed Woodward, Erik Ten Hag has been given a relatively clean slate. Now, his style in the past requires team pressing, so he still has the Ronaldo problem. But he has shown tactical flexibility to adapt to different personnel during his time at Ajax. Since, let's be honest, It's Ajax. They're Europe's feeder club. They have a good season, all their best players get snatched up. So he constantly had to adjust. And even with that, he had them winning the league over and over again, and they weren't doing that before he was there. Another hopeful sign is he took a lot of Premier League rejects, people like Dusan Tadic, and would go on to turn them into some of the best statistical players in the Champions League. So the hope is, maybe he can polish off a few of the turds on this roster and find a hidden gem or two. Ajax also has one of the best famed academies in the world, with a production line of players drilled from childhood to play a total football style. Manchester United also has a famed academy, so hopefully he can bring some of those modern tactics to the youngsters, but that will certainly take time to show fruit. And there is some good news on the transfer market front. After rumors of him wanting to stay at Barca, Erik Ten Hag's Ajax golden boy Frankie de Jong might actually be moving to Old Trafford this summer. That would fill a massive cog in the midfield engine room, especially after the departure of the likes of Paul Pogba and Matic. And obviously, Frankie would be a perfect fit in Erik's system. But honestly, even if we were to get him and a few other notable signings, I think Manchester United fans should really temper expectations about the upcoming season. For the next couple seasons, what Man United need to truly challenge for titles again is going to take multiple years of rebuilding. So in my opinion, good old Erik shouldn't be judged on the results of year 1 or even year 2. I beg Manchester United fans to be patient, because our best hope in this is that this is the beginning of building a foundation. A solid, sturdy, stands the fucking test of time foundation. Something long-lasting, instead of the quick, expensive fixes of the past decade. And you need not look much further than the recent history of Liverpool to see that a team can go from a laughingstock to perennial winner if given the right coach and structure. So let's keep our expectations low, enjoy the occasional Ronaldo hat-trick, and expect some growing pains along the way. Because I would love to see Erik Ten Hag around, at least for a couple of seasons, just to get one fucking long-term plan executed for the first time since Fergie left. And now, as I'm trying to wrap up this video, the latest breaking news is Cristiano Ronaldo has asked to leave Manchester United, which I'm not too bad at. As I previously mentioned, Ronaldo is a huge issue when it comes to pressing, so his departure might actually be a blessing in disguise for Erik Ten Hag's tactics. And if we can go ahead and recruit a forward that can actually press and is, a little bit younger than 37, this might actually be in the best interest of Manchester United long term. Thank you, Ronnie, for your service. I'm gonna miss you, bro. You'll always be the GOAT for me. And that's where I'm gonna leave off this video. I guess I'll see you at the end of next season, and I might be sticking my foot right in my mouth about Ten Hag, but color me optimistic, okay? I'm just a silly American Man United fan, and I'm gonna be that way till the day I die, so I can't do anything else but to hope, alright? That's all I got. Oh hey, it's me, the formerly Fat Asian. Just want to say thank you for taking your time and watching this video. If you did enjoy reliving this dumpster fire of a season, go ahead, take your hard right nipple, smush in the like button right now. Takes you only a second, but it helps me so much in this godforsaken algorithm. As for new content, I got a video on the way on how Qatar ruined the World Cup, so be on the lookout for that. And as always, I'd like to go ahead and take this opportunity to thank all my patrons keeping me alive and well during this global BS. And a special shout out to the 2 newest members to the $1 Army. I'd like to say a personal thank you to Izzy and Yaya. And pretty much, I want to say thank you to all my patrons, all you guys. I really do appreciate you guys so much. But yeah, that's going to be pretty much it for me and BMOnus. Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful day. Remember to stay yourself, stay humble, and as always, stay thick.